health. This time, I'm not a specialist on physical health, so I specialize in mental health. So we're going to speak about mental health issues, and the objective of this talk is not just for you to know what mental health is, but to increase awareness. Because when you are aware, you are going to help someone in your family, you help someone in your community or in your church, because mental health is not like, you see, it's the same as physical health, but we are very much aware about physical health. At least you've studied a lot. Doctors have really talked so much about physical health and how to care about it. Mental health for a long time has been left behind. One doctor, Dr. Naku of Tabika, one time said that mental health for a long time has been a stepchild of physical health. So we now want to embrace mental health so that we can survive very many things, because mental health can also affect your physical health. So as they prepare, we're just going to share a few things within these 45 minutes. I think I'll leave some time for questions. Okay, my name is Evelyn Connie Harono Lufafa. I am a counseling psychologist. Yes. And I work with students. I work at Makerere University as a counselor or as one of the counselors there. But aside from that, I also do lots of private practice. I work in schools for counseling, and even in organizations, workplace counseling, because lately mental health has become key, most especially after the COVID-19 disease. Yeah, so that is all about me. We can now start. Maybe I'll start with a prayer. Okay, let us pray before I start. Father God, we want to thank you so much for this time. Thank you for the gift of life. And thank you for giving us time to enable us to discuss issues pertaining our mental health. We pray that you increase our knowledge so that when we know, we'll know what to do in times of trouble and be able to help others. Bless us in all that we do. In Jesus' name we've prayed. Amen. So I'll use my laptop, and I'll request the person who is moving the slides to move to the next slide. What is mental health? Okay, you may not really be able to see, but I'll make sure that at least you understand. One, like I said, you cannot, when you separate mental health from physical health, that's where the issue is, because when one is sick, the other sympathizes. When you have a headache and you have no explanation why you have headache, somehow you get worried. And that worry can become anxiety. You start worrying that, oh, maybe I have a brain tumor, and yet maybe you don't have it. You start worrying that maybe this is a signal of a certain disease. So that worry is happening in your head. And therefore, you'll be worried because you have a headache. And then also, when you're worried that you do not have maybe school fees, you do not have money at home, or you're worried of any other thing, you might get a physical reaction. You again get maybe headache, or you get stomach pain, or something happens to your physical health. So they usually interrupt one another. So keeping both healthy is key. So mental health, according to the World Health Organization, means a state of complete physical health, mentally, socially, and not just the absence of disease. Meaning, to have mental health, it means you have both the physical health, the mental health, and socially. Socially meaning you can easily interact with anyone with ease. Like, not saying that everyone is your friend, but then you don't find it difficult to interact with people. You're not in this lonely place. You feel no one likes you and so on. So it is also, you're also able to realize your own abilities. If you're self-aware and you know that, for me, if I go into an argument, I get so angry, I might do something that is not good to someone. So you are when you know your abilities, that means your mental health is right. And mental health is different from, it's not just a mental disorder. When we talk about mental health, people think that those things are for people in Butabika, at the hospital, at Mulago Psychiatric Ward. No. Those people who have a mental health breakdown, they lost their perception. Actually, they're even lucky because someone found out and they're getting treatment. However, just us here, we suffer from mental health issues, things like mild and moderate depression, these usual anxieties. Those ones are the ones that can lead you to get a mental health breakdown if they are not handled on time. So then also, if you're able to work productively and contribute to your community, if you're a man or a woman, you wake up in the morning, go to your job, be able to work 8 to 5, or go to your business, be able to do your business, or go to your dig, and you come back home, you're productive. The moment you start feeling like, no, I don't feel like working, I don't feel like waking out from my bed to go and work. Or if I go to work, no one loves me. If you reach that extent, no one speaks to me, so now I feel like I shouldn't even go to work. Then your mental health is giving you signals that things are not okay. Then your mental health is right. So mental health also includes emotional, psychological, social well-being. Like I said, emotionally, how do you feel now? If I had a chance to ask each and every one of you that, how do you feel this morning? Do you know if you're happy? Do you know if you're sad? Are you worried? Is everything okay? If you're able to tell, then your mental health is okay, because sometimes it's normal to be worried. Our mental health can fluctuate once in a while. So like I said, our mind is like a central processing unit, CPU, like those computers those guys are using. That's how our mind is. Like, it processes everything in our body. Like, when one is sick, the other one sympathizes with another. So since we all have a brain, I'm sure since you're a human being, you're seated here, you're thinking, you're able to listen to what I'm saying and internalize it, you have a brain. Thank you. So if you have a brain, meaning you have mental health. One of the problems we have is not knowing that we are all candidates of mental health. Why? Because things happen. Tragedies happen. You can be here in a camp meeting, then they tell you that, you know what, you've lost someone in the village. That will change your mental health status immediately, okay? Immediately. Or maybe you were planning, your business was coming from someplace, and then things fluctuate. It will change your mental health. You'll go into worry. So it's very important to know that we are all candidates of mental health. And from today onwards, just know that when we talk of mental health, we're not speaking about people in hospital. Those ones are already being taken care of. We are speaking about us here. How is your mental health? How do you feel? It's like, how is your physical health? Are you able to wake up in the morning and do some walking, do some jogging, or your entire body is painful, you can't get out of bed, meaning your physical health is not okay. So if you're able to do certain things well, then your mental health is okay. So generally speaking, those are the concepts. Please, I left that slide. You can move up to the determinants of our mental health. So our mental health, like I said, differs greatly depending on the circumstances in which we are born, raised, and live in our lives. So meaning that some of us are more susceptible to mental health issues than others. Where you are born, raised, matters a lot. Like I said, I work my work Monday to Friday, I work with people. So I speak with people, different kinds of people, young, old, but mostly now the young because I'm in a university setting. But the stories that the children tell me, people who are, I'm calling them children, but young adults, who are about 22 years or 23 years, a girl will come in when they are presenting with an academic issue. So you'll think that this is just an academic issue, but realize in the middle of the session, after doing your assessment, you ask her about the family. The moment you say, tell me about your family. Do you have both your parents, your mother and father, are they living together? Someone begins to break down, they start crying, then you'll be like, okay, what did I do by asking about your family? Then a student will tell you, you know what? My parents separated, okay? Of course, it's normal for people to separate, but you do not know the effects. They say that when two elephants fight, who suffers? So the children are usually the grass because they are not, they're not catered for in this scenario. People can separate, then they be like, me, I don't like you anymore. I also don't like you anymore. But the children have never stopped liking you, the father and the mother. And for them, they believe that for them to be happy, a mother and the father have to be together. So because they are not catered for, in Africa, we just separate. People just walk out of the door. No counseling, no what. You know, there are no negotiations and so on. So this girl is 22. Then you ask, when did they separate? And then the girl will say, I remember, I think I was in senior one. So a senior one person is about 14 years, right? Now she's 22 years. She is crying about something that happened when she was 14. As a parent, you might have forgotten. You might have said that ended. I'm in a new relationship and I'm happy. The rest of the things I don't care. But you have created a gap in mental health. This person is not performing well academically just because of the issues in their family. I'm just trying to bring, I'm not saying that people do not separate. By the way, we know that people can separate because human beings are human beings, they can change. However, we are saying, okay, if people choose to separate, can they cater for the grass? The people who depend on them, can they first talk and say, hey, by the way, we are going to separate, but then how about these guys? What do we do? Oh, maybe they'll need, I know you'll be so angry to do that, but after doing your anger, you have to still think about it. Why? You'll save the world from more mental health issues. So this girl is relating badly, has a boyfriend who is taking advantage of them because they feel they are not loved enough. At home, there is no love. So if they find someone who can love them, however much they torture them, however much they treat them badly, at least there's someone who accepts them. But the problem came from home. So you see what I'm saying, that our mental health issues, the families where we are raised, if it's an orderly, if it's a functional family, more health. Dysfunctional families are the highest causes of mental health issues. And I still say that people can separate, but we only need to be orderly and think about the rest of people who depend on us, because I don't want someone to be guilty and say, but now I separated, what do I do? You still have time to gather the children and tell them about your issues and say, you know what, for us we failed, but we both love you. You know, you need to go all these things so that the children are not confused, because that's the work we do. I speak to students, and out of 10, you realize that 5 of them are coming from dysfunctional families. Those ones doing drugs, we usually they come from dysfunctional families. So this is because mental health is determined by a complex interplay of individual, family, community, and structural factors, and they vary over time and space, and are experienced differently from person to person. So knowing that we are different is also very important. Some of us, our personality can predispose us. So when individual vulnerabilities interact, there's higher risk. Yeah? For example, there are those ones on extreme and those ones on low. If someone is in extreme stressors, bad job, you know, bad family, toxic relationships, poor environment, all those things, they are more susceptible to, they are highly risky for mental health conditions. Okay, we'll go to the next slide. There are some statistics that were happening. It's good for you to know what's happening. Recently in the papers, they were talking about 14 million in Uganda, that 14 million Ugandans have mental health. And then people went in shock and said, how? But then this data is of 2019. It's not even of 2021 or 2022. So what does that mean? If they had taken the data after COVID-19, then I don't know. The statistics could be higher. So the 14 million shouldn't make you say that is too bad enough. It is even worse because we are even depending on old data. So even children have mental health issues. Almost 20% of children suffer from a kind of mental health issue. And even globally, the prevalence is very high. Now that the pandemic happened, we still suffer the aftermath. Most of us are still suffering from what happened during COVID-19. We cannot say that in 2 years, this is 2022, everything has cleared. People lost their loved ones. People lost jobs. Other people lost relationships. And currently, one of the things which I've seen after COVID-19, which is very high, is grief. There are very many people who are grieving silently. Most people do not know how to grieve, so they suppress. But then they are still grieving because they never got enough time to grieve for their loved ones. And you cannot hide grief. It will come up in other different things. So there are many effects of the pandemic, and Uganda is ranked among the top 6 countries with high rates of depression, disorders, and anxiety. One of the mental health issues that are very common, apart from others like PTSD and so on, depression is like one of the issues that in Uganda many people suffer from. And now I'm not only speaking about the severe depression, because those ones, some of them are lucky to be getting treatment, but this moderate and, mild is so high because people suppress mental health issues and they live on, but they are affecting themselves and also affecting others. So health research also elsewhere suggests that around 1 in 6 adults will experience some form of psychological distress or mental illness in any given year of a lifetime. Like, I don't know how old you might be, but at least maybe by the time you make 50 years or you're 20 years, at one point you have suffered a mental health issue. At least you've been worried. Either you've had some anxieties or some depression or some extreme issues, and you've even ended up swallowing antidepressants. But at least mostly all of us go through these mental health issues. So how common and widespread? I've already spoken about. You got the next slide. I've already spoken about the prevalence, and right now currently there's some data which says that people who are mentally ill, they've lost perception, do not even receive mental health services. I had a client who was highly suicidal just 2 weeks ago because of a broken relationship. And she tried twice. She went to the shop. Now, that's why I'm telling you that it's not those ones you see who are eating on the dustbin or in the hospital. People here whom you see, they are very normal. Someone could be sitting on something, eating them up. So this girl was smart, looking good, but she was dying inside. And when I spoke to her, she had already tried twice. She bought overdose of some drugs, took overnight, and then someone saved her by seeing her like losing it out, and they rushed her to hospital. So when we asked her and said, what is killing you? It was a bad relationship. A relationship is something someone can work on, but there are people who will sit on it and say, I'll sort it later, and then it eats up, and then it mixes with very many other things until someone goes into that. And these people do not receive support, because people in the community take mental health to be something very simple. You know, they'll be like, after all, they don't have a wound. Until people die, until people commit suicide, that's when we begin saying, but we saw them. Okay, they talked about it, but we thought they were joking. I'm just going to talk about depression a little bit more because it's more common, and we want you to be people who can help others. Let me just see our time. Okay. So, mental health is about what we think. Please, next slide. It's about what we think, feel, and act. It also helps to determine how we handle stress, okay? I already said, and I need to emphasize this one, the next slide. Everyone feels worried, anxious, sad, or, stressed at various times of our lives. So do not go in panic when you fluctuate. Sometimes your mood can fluctuate once in a while. For example, during COVID, most of us were anxious because we didn't know what was going to happen. That is normal, because that anxiety is what helps you to be alert and know that there's a problem. But after working on it and finding solutions, you need to stabilize. Because if you're anxious all the time, your body is beginning to produce those chemicals that help you to be anxious, but then they are again in turn dangerous to you. So they don't need to be continuous. You need to find a solution to what is making you anxious. However, it's normal for once in a while to feel like that. And what normally brings us the most issues? Our relationships, our physical health. If I already said someone wanted to commit suicide because of a relationship. Someone walked away from them after 8 years. But not only that, usually they are connected. The relationship, lost a job, maybe lost a parent somewhere. So all these things connect because none of them has been worked on, and they form something else until someone loses hope. Every time someone wants to die, don't just say that they are not Christian enough. They have lost hope, and that is the time they need you. That's why you need to be aware to help someone. So instead of going to tell them that, why have you, don't you know that, don't speak very many judgmental words, because already this person is at the end of the mental health continuum. They just need to be in a hospital. They are an emergency. So that they do not go to the worst. So relationships can cause us mental health. Either your boss is not so good to you, they ever shout at you, so you go to your office when you're worried. You walk on eggshells. I don't know what he will say today. That will increase your worry. That's why some people end up getting high blood pressure for the first time because of a job, Our physical health. If your physical health is not fine, your mental health will definitely not be fine. So care about your physical health. How? The messages are being talked here about exercise, diet, all those things can help you to have a good physical health, to keep a good mental health. And our jobs, if you're worried that you might lose your job, be the best and do your best at your job, so that you don't be the one who is ever in issues until you lose it. Lose it when really you had nothing to do about it, because it will affect your mental health. The moment you don't have a job, definitely you're going to be worried, okay? At least if you have something, maybe a tomato stall somewhere, you wake up thinking that, oh, I'm going to my shop to open it. Only that brings you hope. It's not that you must have a job in the office before you're healthy. No. You can have something that at least brings in as little as it can help you. So all those things, you need to care about them. Otherwise, they can become a challenge to our mental health and lead you to something you never wanted to do. What are the risk factors at individual and family and community? Like the causes. Some of the causes of mental health issues are genetic, like things you may not have direct cause to. If your parent, your great-grandfather had mental health issues, it is likely that one person in your generation might also get what? A mental health issue. It might be you. So do not get out of hand. Get help. The important thing is currently there's a lot of help. You can start from, right now Ministry of Health is saying that counseling is like the first line for mental health. Why? If you come to a psychologist or you come to a counselor, they will assess you and realize that either you're at the beginning of the mental health continuum, you're not so bad off, we can do talk therapy and you're okay, or in the middle. But if you're in the extreme, I might tell you that we might need to see a psychiatrist. And when we say talk of a psychiatrist, don't lose your head and you say, no, I'm not mentally ill. By the time someone tells you that you might need to see a doctor of mental health, it means that you're almost going out of hand. So help your relative, because family support is very important in mental health. The girl I was working with, the reason she was going to die in that house is because she had a weak support system. Our support systems are very important. If you see someone is going down, they're stopping to eat, they're losing weight, they're not speaking to anyone, they're locking themselves in the house, then you begin saying, that one is like that, and you're the closest family member. For us, we are tired of her. She doesn't want to speak to anyone. We are giving her food, she's not eating. You as a family member, what are you doing? Look out for a doctor and say, we have someone in our house who is like this and this. She's speaking about dying. The moment someone says, I wish I could die, don't take that statement for granted. Please act, reach out. Because this girl said it, and she did it. She was only saved because someone came. But I spoke to her sister, and the sister was like, that one, she's lazy, she doesn't want to work, but she was sick. So our support systems are very key in mental health, and that's how mental health works. You have a poor support system, your mental health might dwindle, because those ones who have a good support system, they survive, even when they are at their worst. So things like low education, maybe no education at all, those are just things that can, whatever. Our physical health, substance use, we know that we are in church and we know that we are Adventists, and we know that, okay, Adventists know that alcohol is bad. But do you know that very many Adventists are taking alcohol and they are addicted? Yes. We have very many young Adventists who are addicted, but they come to church and they sit and pray very well. But addiction comes from usually mental health issues. There's a problem. Someone doesn't just begin drinking until they drink, not for feeling good or what, but they drink to numb pain. Okay? My wife does not, I don't like her, or because now I know I can't separate from her, but let me just be in these things, and then I numb my pain. My job is bad, this is bad, you're numbing the pain, but you're getting addicted. So the important thing is seek help, because the alcohol will still go away and you still come back to where you started. So I needed to speak about it, because usually in church we fear speaking about these things, but I want to tell you for a truth, I did my internship in Butabika and I met our young people who were in rehabilitation and they were in church. So please, parents, let us up our game and know our children better. Job strain, urban living, yeah. So when unattended to, because we have few minutes remaining, at least let me say this one. When unattended to, mental health dysfunctions can lead to early death, premature death, because someone will stop caring about themselves and their health will keep going down. Someone can commit suicide just prematurely like that. Predisposed people are likely to also develop chronic conditions like heart disease, because if you live, every time for you, you live as though you're seeing a lion all the time. So meaning that your body is ever producing very bad chemicals that are bringing down your health. I'm not going to go into those, but then just know that whenever you're annoyed, if you have anger management issues, for your body to recollect, for you to be angry, the brain has to act. So meaning there's a lot of things going in your body. So with time, if you're constantly angry all the time, you'll end up getting either heart disease, high blood pressure, all those things that are related with poor living. Eating disorders. Have you ever heard of people who say, I'm eating away my stress? Have you heard about them? Let me eat away my stress. Send for chips, send for this, the other. You're eating not because you want to. Sometimes we see people who are gaining a lot of weight, And sometimes we hurt them the most. And we say, now we'll get zenyo, you know. But this person could be just eating away their stress. Maybe you need to ask them, is everything okay? Can I help you? You'll wake up and go and exercise. When you're stressed, you'll say like, why do I suffer? Let me just be the way I am. Breakdown in family relationships. A client called me one time and told me that I lost my marriage, not because of anything, but I've just realized that I had a mental health issue, which I did not know. She used to have anger thing, but you do not have energy to even get out of bed. You can't even just get your laptop and start working. If that happens for more than 2 do not go away. I need to tell you this. You may not remove certain things, but you can learn how to cope with them. For example, if you have, you're suffering from maybe manic episodes, you get them, but when you swallow medication, meaning you have to work with a psychiatrist who is a doctor, and then also work with a psychologist who is like me, because the doctor will give you medication to stabilize you. I will speak to you to give you a therapeutic talk to help you recognize what are your triggers, to give you like skills to enable you to lessen on the amount of attacks that you get. So we work as a team. Do not fear when a counselor tells you, no, I think you need to see a psychiatrist. Even if it's your child. I know I've spoken to parents when I suggested one time that take this child for psychiatry, you know, the parent cowardized, went and hit the child, but the child was getting worse. Yet someone can get help and they get better. Lack of sleep, if you can't sleep at all, like you keep waking up 3 a.m., you don't go back to sleep, you're always worried, and this happens for like 2 weeks or more. Failure to perform day-to-day functions. You go to work, you're not working. Like you're literally not working, even when you want to. And then appetite changes. In most cases with depression, your appetite will go very low. Apart from stress, stress might shoot your appetite because you're eating away your stress. But depression is a real disease. That's why for it, it doesn't go away until you get help. That is for a fact, because your brain has been so affected that it needs to again unlearn the things that you've been doing to learn again new things. So sometimes you might gain, but in most cases you might lose. Neglected physical appearance. Someone used to be well-kept, looking nice. All of a sudden, always watch out for sudden changes. Suddenly someone begins being shabby, but they used to be neat. Suddenly they change from eating. Suddenly they change from relationships. They used to be in your group. You go out, you have fun. They begin saying, I don't feel like, I don't want to be with people. People hate me. Please not. Those are signs. And then emotionally, they are persistently sad. You know, there's this sadness which you can see that someone is really very sad, you know? And then they are hopeless. They don't have hope. I would rather die. Social withdrawal, lack of motivation, low self-esteem, I'm nothing, those things. Lack of confidence, those abnormal beliefs, excessive guilt, all those things will show you that this person is sick. So I wanted you just to know that as I end with how do you take care of your mental health. The usual things, I'm just going to the last slide, don't worry about that. Do the usual things. One, self-awareness. Know your limits. Like I said, mental health means you're self-aware. Know your limits. We are not the same. Some people do very well with very many people around them. They talk a lot. They can interact with everyone. Some people are not able to do that. So know your limits. Interact with 2 people who you feel comfortable with. You know, don't do things, then you go home and you're so sad because people said words that you don't like. But do you know yourself? Connect with people around you, with families, friends. Like I said, mental health works very well with support systems. The more you have people who care and love you, the more your mental health will be good. Be active. Go for a walk. We are here during the camp meeting. We wake up at 6 and run. Let us continue. I may not run, but at least you can walk. Take notice of good things around you. Don't be sad at everything. There are people who comment at everything. They will look at these flowers, then they say, but why did they put yellow? They should have put peach, you know? Like for you, okay, it may not look nice for you, but there's someone who is appreciating it, okay? like everything, find something amusing that you see around. Then keep learning new things, rediscover other things. Give. I will end with this. Give. Do something nice for a friend, for a stranger. Smile at a child. You know, be active in your community. Now, our community is the church. In church, join a choir, be in deaconry, be in the youth, be somewhere. Don't be this person who says, me, I can't belong to anything in church. When you do that, you are self-sabotaging yourself. And slowly by slowly, you realize your mental health will go down. And then we have what we call the bucket mode of resilience. Go to the last slide, the end, like the end. So the bucket mode of resilience, there's water being poured in. Please just go to the last slide because I'm ending on this one. Whoever is managing. The last slide. Okay, sorry. So anyway, there's a bucket here. It has holes, and it's like someone is pouring in water. I wish they would put it there. So this water, which is being poured, yes, next. Yes, that one. So there's that water being poured in. So that water are your resources. We have the social resources, the spiritual resources. When you're in touch with your spiritual being, like we are here, most of us are going to go back home rejuvenated. Like you've not wasted your time. If you were worried, you had some worries, you might go back when you're what? Better. So that is a spiritual resource. Use it. Family members are your resources. Physical health, physical resources, mental resources. So they are the ones that are in your bucket. But remember, there are issues, there are those holes. That water is getting poured out. Some of these resources continually drain. For example, you begin feeling you're not socially connected with your friends. There are issues with your spiritual life. You're not connecting with your family members. These resources keep going out. That is how we are as human beings. But continue filling your bucket. If it is the spiritual resource which works for you, continue coming for these fellowships. Meet people and you sing together, pray together. If that is what is making you feel better, connect with friends, go out and see them. That is your resource. Because you need to realize what keeps draining them. Identify the things that currently help you to fill your bucket. What else can you do to help fill your bucket? Identify the things which are draining. Is it a job, toxic job? Try to know, how can I work with my boss? Get someone to talk to. They can give you skills. Work out what you can change and accept things that you cannot change. Please, if we learn that, we'll live a good, we know that we'll fluctuate, but our mental health will at least be at an equilibrium. Accept the things you can change and accept things you no longer have control over. Some, like death, we have no control over. We lost someone 10 years ago and we are still grieving. Grieving is normal because we all grieve. We are human beings. And in the Bible, we know that Jesus wept. He had an emotion. But if you grieve in a way that you no longer want to do anything, you don't want to let go of this person from your mind, they are all over you, that is complicated grief. So you are trying to change things you cannot change. Accept that that is gone, but I can only remember what I miss about the people. You cannot change how people treat you, how people decide to treat you, but you can change how you react. If someone treats you so badly, you may not change that, but change how you react. Maybe change the environment. Get other friends. Yeah. So for now, I pray that we've learned something about mental health and we are able to help someone else, and more so help ourselves and refer people we see in the community who need to be helped in institutions. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Sister Evelyn, for hope we benefited from that talk. And you'll be surprised that certain situations are so silent, but they're serious killers. And I think what she has presented is a key healthy issue that we need all to take very seriously. At this moment, we'll have our health break for a few minutes. It's now 11 a.m. and our song service will be beginning at 11:15. And we'll be having the Mount Olive Youth Choir ministering at 10 minutes past 11, and then that will usher us into our divine hour. So kindly, if you must break, use 10 minutes and then get back. But if you can stay, we'll still have some songs that will help us run through this program. But I wish you all a pleasant stay and a nice camp meeting. Here's a break, 10 minutes, and we'll be back, and then we'll continue with our service. Thank you.